Hello and welcome to another episode of Soap Goes to the Oscars. This is episode 106. And the movie I watched this time was The Philadelphia Story. This was the second movie I watched on August 22nd, 2025, and I'm recording on August 23rd. This was available on Tubi, which means that its 112-minute runtime was much, much longer because of all the commercials Tubi has. In addition, we had to stop for a while in the middle when our daughters called from college, so that prolonged the entire viewing of it, but that didn't take away from it really. Tubi's great because they have a lot of they have a lot of free stuff, and especially like with these older movies, I find them now and then, but their ads are awful. So it'll be like one of seven. And at first, the first one's like 13 seconds. You're like, that's not so bad. But then the next six are 30 seconds. And so it's still overall, it might only be like 3 minutes, but there are quite a few of them over the course of the movie, and it slows things down quite a bit. Anyway, first world problems. So this was so far, all of these have been free this round, which is good. But let's jump into Wikipedia. The Philadelphia Story is a 1940 American romantic comedy film starring Cary Grant, Katharine Hepburn, James Stewart, and Ruth Hussey, directed by George Cukor, who's directed many of the movies I've reviewed, and he was also the original director on Gone with the Wind before he was let go, and Victor Fleming took over. The film is based on the 1939 Broadway play of the same name by Philip Barry about a socialite whose wedding plans are complicated by the simultaneous arrival of her ex-husband and a tabloid magazine journalist. The socialite, played by Hepburn in both productions, was inspired by Helen Hope Montgomery Scott, a Philadelphia heiress who had married Barry's friends. Written for the screen by Donald Ogden Stewart and an uncredited Waldo Salt, it is considered among the best examples of a comedy of remarriage in which a couple divorce, flirt with outsiders, and then remarry. The genre was popular in the 1930s and 1940s at a time when divorce was considered scandalous and the depiction of extramarital affairs was blocked by the production code. The film was Hepburn's first hit, following several flops that caused her placement on a 1938 list of actors considered to be box office poison compiled by theater owner Harry Brandt. Hepburn starred in the play and acquired the film rights with the help of Howard Hughes to control it as a vehicle for her screen comeback. Nominated for 6 Academy Awards, including Outstanding Production, Best Director, Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Supporting Actress, and Best Screenplay. It won Best Actor for James Stewart and Best Screenplay for Donald Ogden Stewart. No relation. Produced by Joseph L. Mankiewicz. I think he did Citizen Kane too. Cinematography, Joseph Ruttenberg. Edited by Frank Sullivan. Music by Frank Waxman. Production company MGM. Distributed by Lowe's Inc. Release dates December 26, 1940 in New York City and January 17, 1941 in the US. Runtime 112 minutes. So this one, I started this one earlier on in my watching of this year's Oscars, and then I knew Jimmy Stewart was in it. I didn't realize Hepburn and Grant were also in it. And those are two of my wife's favorites, so I decided to hold off. And so we watched it together, even though she fell asleep before it ended. I mean, it's obviously a great cast. Jimmy Stewart is I'm not, I really only had seen him mostly in It's a Wonderful Life. I've seen a couple other movies with him in doing these watches, but this one seemed a little bit out of place for him. It's just a different type of character, not in a bad way, but at this point in his career, it seemed like a different choice. Production, the original play starring Hepburn ran for 417 performances. Hepburn had hoped to create a film vehicle for herself that would erase the label of box office poison that she acquired after a number of commercial failures, such as Bringing Up Baby, which is obviously a good movie now, but Howard Hughes purchased the film rights for the play and gave them to her. Hepburn then sold the rights to MGM's Louis B. Mayer for $250,000 in power of final approval of the film's producer, director, screenwriter, and cast. Hepburn selected director George Cukor, with whom she had worked for A Bill of Divorcement and Little Women, and Barry's friend Donald Ogden Stewart, a writer experienced with plays to the screen. Stewart, who won an Oscar for the script, said that getting an Oscar for the Philadelphia Story was the easiest Oscar you could imagine. All you had to do was get out of the way. He wrote the script while listening to a tape recording of live performance of the play to ensure that he preserved the lines that received the most laughter. Hepburn wanted Clark Gable to play Dexter Haven, and Spencer Tracy. Dexter Haven was Cary Grant's character, and Spencer Tracy to play Mike Connor, which is Jimmy Stewart. But both had other commitments. The pairing of Cukor and Gable might have been problematic in any case, as they had clashed during the filming of the recent Gone with the Wind, with Cukor replaced by Gable's friend Victor Fleming. Grant agreed to play the part only if he were afforded top billing, and that his salary would be $137,000, which he donated to the British War Relief Society. According to the documentary MGM When the Lion Roars, after Mayer purchased film rights, he was skeptical about Hepburn's box office appeal and took the unusual precaution of engaging two top male stars, Grant and Stewart, to support Hepburn. Yeah, so this was great. Like Bringing Up Baby, Hepburn and Grant are great together. Jimmy Stewart being thrown in there, like I said, it's a little bit odd to me, but he was good, and so was Ruth Hussey, who played the photographer that was working with his Jimmy Stewart's journalist. And it's, very much like a will they, won't they, who's going to end up with who kind of comedy, some very funny, actual laugh out loud moments. Also interesting, there was one point where Jimmy Stewart was singing Over the Rainbow, which is, don't really think of anything of it now, but you'd think Wizard of Oz would have only come out the year before. So, and Cukor was involved with that one as well as a consultant. But this was very good. I gave it 4 stars on Letterboxd. Grant and Hepburn, just perfect together. Yeah, I definitely recommend this one. Check it out. It's on the Tubi at the moment. I don't know how long it'll be there, so give it a shot. That's all I got for this one. See you next time.